Welcome to Art History with Jackie. This week, as we remember the lives sacrificed during times of war, we are going to turn to an art movement that developed as a result of World War II. Abstract Expressionism is a post-World War II art movement in American painting, developed in New York in the 1940s. It was the first specifically American movement to achieve international influence and put New York City at the center of the Western art world. An important predecessor to abstract expressionism is surrealism, with its emphasis on spontaneous, automatic, or subconscious creation. Jackson Pollock's dripping paint onto a canvas laid on the floor is a technique that has its roots in the work of André Masson and Marc Ernst. The movement's name is derived from the combination of the emotional intensity and self-denial of the German Expressionists with the anti-figurative aesthetic of the European abstract schools, such as Futurism, the Bauhaus, and synthetic cubism. It also has an image of being rebellious, anarchic, highly idiosyncratic, and nihilistic. The term is applied to any number of artists working in New York who had quite different styles, and even to work that is neither especially abstract nor expressionist. Abstract Expressionism has many stylistic similarities to the Russian artists of the early 20th century, such as Vasily Kandinsky, with artists such as Paul Klee, Vasily Kandinsky, Emma Kunz, and later on Rothko, Barnett Newman, and Agnes Martin. Abstract art clearly implied expression of ideas concerning the spiritual, the unconscious, and the mind. Why this style gained mainstream acceptance in the 1950s is a matter of debate. American social realism had been the mainstream in the 1930s. It had been influenced by the Great Depression as well as by the muralists of Mexico. The political climate after World War II did not long tolerate the social protests of these painters. The McCarthy era after World War II was a time of artistic censorship in the United States. But if the subject matter were totally abstract, then it would be seen as apolitical and therefore safe. Or if the art was political, the message was largely for the insiders. During the period leading up to and during World War II, modernist artists, writers, and poets fled Europe and the onslaught of the Nazis for safe haven in the United States. A new generation of American artists began to emerge and to dominate the world stage, and they were called abstract expressionists. During the late 1940s, Jackson Pollock's radical approach to painting revolutionized the potential for all contemporary art that followed him. To some extent, Pollock realized that the journey toward making a work of art was as important as the work of art itself. Pollock redefined what it was to produce art. His move away from easel painting was a liberating signal to the artists of his era to all that came after. Artists realized that Jackson Pollock's process of placing unstretched raw canvas on the floor where it could be attacked from all four sides, using artist materials and industrial materials, took art making beyond any prior boundary. The other abstract expressionists followed Pollock's breakthrough with breakthroughs of their own. For example, action painting was a style that spread from the late 1940s until the 1960s and is closely associated with abstract expressionism. The term was coined by American critic Harold Rosenberg and defined the canvas as an arena in which to act. It shifted the emphasis from the object to the action of painting itself. Another form of abstract expressionism was color field painting. Color field painting initially referred to a particular type of abstract expressionism, especially the work of Mark Rothko, Barnett Newman, and Clifford Still. These painters sought to rid their art of superfluous rhetoric. These abstract expressionists were all known for their highly emotive and larger-than-life artworks that asked viewers to pause and reflect on possible meanings behind their pieces. They continue to stop viewers in their tracks. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.